Book 3, Chapter 62. Fate is what determines the result of action. Vasishta continued. These myriad of worlds and millennia of Kalpa age are no more real in themselves than our false computation of the millionth part of an atom or the twinkling of an eye. It is our error that represents them as true to us, though they are as false as our calculation of those infinitesimal. These creations, whether past or future, follow one another in endless succession, like overflowing currents of water, with all the waves, eddies, and whirlpools in them. The idea of these created worlds is as false as a delusive mirage that presents a stream of water flowing with strings of flowers fallen from the plants on the shore. Perceived creation is as baseless as a city in a dream or a magic show, or like a mountain in a fiction or an imaginary castle in the air. Brahman said, Sage, the drift of your reasoning leads to the establishment of the identity of the perceived creation with the Creator, and that this unity of both is the belief of the learned and wise. Now tell me, what do you have to say with regard to material bodies as they exist on earth? What causes the body to be subject to the causes unknown to inner spirits? Shishta replied, divine consciousness as an active supernatural energy called the predominant decree, fate, or destiny, which must come to pass and bears its command over all our actions and desires. She is invested from the beginning with irresistible and multifarious powers. She destines the manner in which everything is to take place and continue forever. She is the essential cause of all essence, and the chief mover of the intellect. She is called the great power of powers, and remains as the great viewer of all things. She is called the great agency and the great producer of all events. She is known as the chief mover of occurrences, and she is the soul and source of all accidents. Chit Shakti, power of consciousness. Mahasatta, great existence. Mahachiti, great intelligence. Mahashakti, great power. Mahadrishti, great vision. Mahakriya, great doing. Mahodbhava, great becoming. Mahaspanda, great vibration. She whirls like straw and bears her sway over gods and demons. She commands the Naga snakes and the mountain monsters to the end of time. Sometimes she is thought of as an attribute of divine essence, remaining pictured in her ever-varying colors in the hollow emptiness of divine consciousness. For the understanding of those ignorant in spiritual knowledge, the learned have explained that Brahma the Creator is identical with the spirit of Brahma, and by destiny they mean his creation. The immovable spirit of Brahma appears to be full of moving creatures. The infinity of divine essence seems to teem with finite creation in the midst of it, like a grove of trees growing under the vault of the hollow sky. The unawake Spirit of God reflects various images in itself as in a dream, like the reflection of a dense forest in the lens of a crystal stone. The Creator Brahma, in the hollow sphere of the divine mind, understood these reflections as the prototype of the destined creation. So what is this destined prototype of the destined creation? We're finding there is a great agency and great producer of all events, invested from the beginning with irresistible and multifarious powers. She destines the manner in which everything is to take place and continue forever. Well, this sounds like divine karmic traces, doesn't it? Divine karmic traces are essentially the dream in the mind of the Creator, the energy frequencies in the consciousness of the Creator that manifest into all of the established features of the universe. Then it says, this destiny is the force or molten power that moves all men, animals, plants, and inanimate creations. Let's continue with 17. Consciousness naturally exhibits a variety of forms in itself, just as the body of an embodied person exhibits its various members. The lotus-born Brahma took these various forms in itself to be the several parts in the body of the cosmos. This foreknowledge of events imprinted in the consciousness of God is called destiny, which extends over all things at all times. This is a very interesting perspective on the divine karmic traces. Let's take a look at one of our own personal experiences as a lucid dreamer. Probably everyone has had a lucid dream at some point. Maybe you have them frequently. When a lucid dream is noticed, carrying on in the mind, is there also an awareness of how the dream is going to end and all that's going to take place in that lucid dream? Probably at early stages of lucid dreaming, there is not. That's because lucid dreaming takes place with various levels of what we could call distance of the lucid witness or the watcher of the dream. The common dream, the watcher of the dream is totally embedded in the dream, not watching the dream at all, swimming around in the midst of it, just as surprised at what's happening as all the other creatures in the dream. But then there begins to be a separation. And at some point, one can clearly state, I am dreaming. But at that first early stage, there's no will or energy to do anything about it. There's only just the sense of, yes, I'm dreaming now. And maybe a flickering in and out of that sense. Then as lucid dreaming is more and more perfected, there's a clear sense, this is my dream. And I can do anything. But what do I do? Probably what most people do, we fly in the dream. Flying in the dream is so common. It's a symbol of freedom, ability to move at will in all three dimensions. But as lucid dreaming matures, it begins to take on the quality of a movie, a three-dimensional cinemascope production. A video. And even though there is this sense, I can change everything in the dream, there's the character that I identify as me walking around. He can do whatever he wants. The desire to do anything again goes away. It's kind of like it comes in waves at first. We're aware of the dream, but we have no desire to do anything. We don't seem to have the energy or will to do anything. Then we're wide awake in the dream, and here comes the desire. to exercise our newfound power of consciousness and change people into angels or fly or do all sorts of things. And then the next stage, we kind of go back to just letting the dream play out with no great, actually zero interest in making changes to the dream. And then as that stage matures, we realize we know exactly how this dream is going to go. Like watching a movie we've already seen 100 times or 1,000 times. And sure enough, there goes the dream, just like that. Well, the dream of this universe has been seen by the Creator, Lord Brahma. At this point, we have to get our calculator out. But at this point, Lord Brahma has seen this dream from start to finish many, many times. The universe is about 1.5 trillion, no, 150 trillion years old. And human years is about half finished. The cycle of one universe is 100 years of Brahma, and each year of Brahma is 360 days of Brahma. So, and each day is actually broken up into a number of years, or a number of yugas. So each day, we might say, is one dream. And each dream is identical, almost. It's kind of like our lucid dreams. You may have noticed already. You're watching the same movie every night, over and 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 over, with slight variations. And you know that what you're watching is the play out of the activities of individual karmic traces. That's what produces these lucid dreams, play of individual karmic traces. So what you're doing is you're playing your library of individual karmic traces as movies when you're watching them at night. This is what Brahma's doing. He's playing a library of divine karmic traces and observes them every night or every day, and every day of Brahma. So he knows exactly what's going to happen in this day of Brahma. Almost exactly. Because what happens is there's just a little bit of change. Each dream is not identical. And they stay that way in the case of the individual person until that block of karma that's being worked on has been balanced. And it's balanced in layers, like the layers of an onion. If you take one layer of an onion and set it on the table, it looks like the onion. but of course hollow inside, but it has the shape of the onion. Then you throw it off and you bring the next layer off, and it has the same shape as the previous layer. Slightly different, teeny bit smaller, a little bit different, but same onion. That's what's happening. We're peeling off these layers of individual karmic traces as we sleep. So does this extend to the creator of the universe? See, peeling off layers of divine karmic traces while he sleeps, while he dreams, while he creates the universe. Yes. And this is what is called destiny. Verse 19. Destiny comprises the knowledge of the causes that move, support, and sustain all things in their proper order, and that such and such a cause must produce such and such an effect forever. We could call these laws of nature. This destiny is the force or mobile power that moves all men, animals, plants, and inanimate creations. It is the beginning or primary source of time and the motion of all things. It is combined with divine power, and this combination of them into one is the cause and production and existence of the world. So this is a very clear statement about how these movies or days of Brahma or nights of lucid dreams occur. We have the tracks of the karmic traces. In the universe, we have the divine karmic traces. In the individual life, we have the individual karmic traces. And then we have the light of consciousness, which ultimately is derived from Paramajyoti, or Krishna's effulgence. All consciousness is a product of the consciousness of Krishna, a little tiny glimmer of that wonderful consciousness. And this consciousness lights up the karmic traces. And in this combination of them into one is the cause of the production and existence of the dream, the world. It is the union or conformity of human effort with the course of destiny or decree of God that is productive of certain ends which are respectively called their destiny and destined effects. What more do you have to ask me, Rama, with regard to destiny and self-exertion? When I tell you that what is destined, that all beings take themselves to their proper actions in the destined or prescribed manner in order to bring about the desired result. A person who relies on predestination, sitting idly and quietly under the belief that he is being fed by his fixed lot, is said to depend on his destiny alone. This is the fatalist. By sitting idly and waiting on providence for the whole of life, He gains nothing and soon comes to lose his good sense and energy, and finally dies from the famine of his sole reliance upon destiny. It is quite certain that whatever is destined must surely come to pass of its own accord, and that it is impossible to prevent it by the foresight of gods and men. Yet, the intelligent ought not cease to exert their activity and only rely on their fates. They must know that it is our effort that brings destiny into action. Destiny is inactive and abortive, without an active power to enforce it to action. It is human activity that produces effect or production in nature by the help of destiny. Depend on destiny and remain both deaf and dumb as a doll. Be inactive and become dull and torpid as a block. Say, what is the good of this vital breath, unless it has vitality and activity? It is good to sit quietly by restraining even the vital breath in yoga meditation. With such practice, one can obtain its liberation. Otherwise, an inactive man is not to be called a yogi, but an idler and a beggar. Both activity and inactivity are good for our liberation from pain, but the high-minded esteem that to be better, which saves them from the greater pain of regeneration. This inactive destiny meditation is a type of latent Brahman, and whoso leans toward it by laying aside his busy course is truly installed in the supremely holy state of highest joy. Inert destiny resides everywhere in the manner of Brahma, the latent soul in all bodies, and evolves itself in various shapes by means of activity in all its productions. So it's a very interesting chapter, giving us key understandings. Let's review a couple before we go on. It talks a little bit about meditation. And there are literally two kinds of meditation. It's good to know that there are two kinds of meditation. You don't want to do the wrong kind. Meditation is a practice. It is something you do. Now, you may appear to not be doing anything. Oh, he's meditating. Look at somebody sitting there with their eyes closed. But is he? Is he meditating, or is he just being inactive? Is he just being an idler and a beggar? Big difference between meditation and just sitting idly. If you devote your time to sitting idly, what will be the result? Eventually, you lose all your intelligence, you lose all your energy, and you lose your entire life. But you don't gain liberation. You just waste the whole thing. Now, some people think, oh, that's meditation. I just sit here and I don't do anything. And I'm very proud of myself. I sat idle for 40 minutes today. 20 minutes in the morning, I sat very idle, and 20 minutes in the afternoon, I sat in a very idle fashion, doing nothing. I am making steps of progress toward enlightenment. The ego says, oh, it's the truth. No, there's no progress at all being made. You're simply falling under the illusion of the ego. Meditation is a practice, something that you do, and it has this delicate edge to it, because what you're doing is not doing, but you are doing not doing. That's meditation. So we have to understand this subtle distinction and look at your own meditations and make sure you're not just being idle, not just being dull and torpid as a block. We must engage the mind in not doing. So that's the whole secret of meditation. Engaging in the meditation. And we devise all kinds of ways to help us do this, because the ego will definitely take the not doing part of meditation and grab onto that and say, okay, yeah, this is really meditation. Just sitting here, my eyes closed, thinking about all kinds of things. It's okay, because if I'm thinking about all kinds of things, that means karmic traces are being dissolved, right? That's where thoughts come from. This is a gigantic delusion. Sitting idly and having just a bunch of thoughts, that's not meditation. But that's what meditation will devolve into if we're not alert, because the ego will take over. That's called ego meditation, and that's called straight path to regeneration, straight path to a new life. Here we go, we're throwing this one away, we're getting ready for our next life. While we're in this life, we're preparing for the next life, spending our time getting ready for the next incarnation. Total waste of time. Total waste of the precious gift of the ability to do the one thing we can do in this species of life that we've incarnated into, the human species. We can think a thought. We see this ability to think being attacked constantly by the agents of destruction. Those agents we call the global elite, the cabal, the Illuminati. But it's just the pressure of collective consciousness, dominated by individual karmic traces of the most crude and elemental form that moves everyone to become inactive, dull, and torpid as a block. So this is a very, very great lesson for us and so important. When you sit to perform Sahasra Sirsha Brahma meditation, pay attention. Pay attention to everything that's going on in that meditation. Listen to the words being spoken. Think the sutras. Imagine the outcome of each sutra. Don't be satisfied with having lots of thoughts. Lots of thoughts is just the smoke coming off of the smoldering karmic traces, not a badge of success. Be here now in the meditation. That's a statement often spoken by Ram Dass. Be here now. Very important. When you sit to meditate, be here now. Be in that meditation right now. Be established in the silent witness and to be only in that moment. And the meditation will challenge you, of course, because the karmic traces being balanced will come up and there'll be very brilliant ideas coming into your mind. Oh, this is exactly what I must be doing now. This is so important. Great creativity will appear to arise. We just ignore all that. We only have a few things to do. We have 4 sutras. We have 1 mantra. It's pretty simple to occupy ourselves during that time. And everything that's not one of those 4 sutras or that mantra, that's just big ignored. It's garbage. Balancing of karmic traces. But important that we make the combination of the energy of consciousness to the practice of the meditation. They were not just going through a habitual routine. Habitual routines are the realm of the ego. The ego is always in habitual routines. But we must never be in a habitual routine beyond the routine of now it's time for the beginning of the meditation. We sit comfortably, we close the eyes, and we begin thinking the mantra. Okay, let's continue with chapter 63. No duality, only the appearance of forms of the one divine mind. Vasishta continued, the essence of Brahma is all in all and ever remains in every manner, in everything, in all places. It is omnipotence, omniform, and the Lord God of all. This essence is the spirit or soul whose omnipotence develops itself sometimes in the form of intellectual activity and sometimes in the tranquility of soul. Sometimes it shows itself in the movement of bodies, and at others in the force of the passions and emotions of the soul. Sometimes as something in the form of creation, and at another as nothing in the annihilation of the world. Whatever it realizes itself anywhere, in any form or state, it is then viewed in the same manner, at the same place and time. The absolute omnipotence manifests itself as it likes and appears to us. All its powers are exhibited in one form or another to our view and understanding. These powers are of many kinds and are primarily concentrated in the divine soul or spirit. Potentialities are the active and passive powers. Also the rational and irrational and all others. These varieties of powers are the inventions of the learned for their own purpose and understanding. There is no such distinction in divine consciousness. There is no duality in reality. The difference consists in shape and not substance. Thus, the waves in the waters of the sea and the bracelets formed of gold are no more than modifications of the same substances. The form of a thing is said to be so, and so not because of its reality, but because of its appearance. We affirm that a rope is a snake, but we have neither the outward perception nor inner thought of a snake in it. Hence, all appearances are delusions of sense. It is the universal soul that shows itself in some form or other to our deluded senses and understanding, and also according to our different apprehensions of the same thing. Only the ignorant understand the omniform God to be all forms of things. The learned know the forms to be modifications of the various powers of the Almighty and not the figures themselves. Whether forms appear real or unreal is to be known to men according to their different apprehensions. which Brahma is pleased to exhibit in any particular form to their minds and senses.